Hello, magical people, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today, I am going to be doing a pick-a-card reading, and we're going to be looking at messages from your team of guides. This is going to be a pick one of three, or two of three, or three of three, whichever seems like it works for you, because you're the one who gets to call the shots. We have Citrine, Kyanite, and Amethyst. You can choose based on the color of the crystal, the type of the crystal, the corresponding number. The first reading will be for Citrine, the second reading will be Kyanite, and the third reading will be Amethyst. Let's go ahead and dive right in. If you selected the citrine crystal, then this reading is for you. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. Figured that we'd start off first with looking at what situation it is that your guides would like to call your attention to, because of course life is complicated and we all have many things going on all the time. So let's see if we can make this a little bit more specific. Oh, okay. And the three cards that came out that your spirit team or your team of guides would like to offer you advice on are the Three of Pentacles, the Star card, and the Seven of Wands. So what I'm really feeling here is that if you have a project that you've been collaborating with or something that you've been building towards for a little while, especially if this is something that is a step towards the fulfillment of your own dreams. Maybe you recently opened a business or considering opening a business and taking steps towards it. Whew, having a hard time talking today. And maybe something has come up. There has been a bump in the road, so to speak. So that could be one possible way these energies could manifest. But really what we're looking at, or what your spirit team would like to draw your attention to, is a situation where you have been selling and marketing, or preparing to sell and market something that you create, something that you've put time into learning how to do, and that's part of a bigger picture for you. So again, that's kind of the overall situation of what we're looking at. And at the bottom here of the deck, the underlying energy is the Hierophant. So this is also something that may have to do with institutions, or perhaps you're wanting to come out from under the wings of a teacher and you're feeling like there's a little bit of pushback. It's like maybe you're just getting ready to, maybe you just finished graduate, or you're just getting ready to graduate or finish a class, or something like that, or a certification. Like I said, this can manifest in a variety of different ways, but hopefully I've thrown out enough possibilities there that you'll know what situation I'm talking about here. So the cards that I had pulled in advance were bring love to the situation. So these are the messages that your team of guides would like to bring to you. Is New Moon in Aquarius, bring love to the situation. The Seahorse Spirit, watch and wait. We have here right order. And we also have free will, get out of your cocoon. So let's pull some more tarot cards here and see what else pops up so that your team can fill in the blank spots a little bit here. So obviously with regards to the situation, with regards to this project that you've been working on, this dream that you've been building, this situation that maybe feels like there's some defensiveness or a need to feel defensive, what your spirit guides are telling you is that, one, you need to bring love to the situation, which is always universally good advice. So with that, also, I'm really getting a feeling of compassion. So bringing some love and compassion to the situation. And maybe for some of you, actually, this thing that's causing this feeling of defensiveness might actually be an internal block. So I'm not sure that that's going to be the case for everybody, but that's definitely the case for some of you. And so sometimes, or in some cases, this bringing love to the situation may not even necessarily about bringing love to a situation where there's been conflict or something has made you feel defensive. It might be bringing love to a different part of yourself that is feeling scared about this project or has doubts about this project or just fears around it. Also with the seahorse spirit here of watch and wait, and then with the other one of right order, again, the first things that are popping up is that your spirit team is wanting you to acknowledge that with the free will card, getting out of your cocoon, that you're on the path to doing that, but that there's this is a moment of pausing. Like with that, for example, with that Seven of Wands card here, this person, this you, is on a higher ground. So there's already been a lot of progress made, and you're now in a better vantage point to take a pause and be able to assess the situation. So let's see what else we have here. We have the Three of Cups card, the celebration card. So, again, your spirit guides are kind of showing up to say, take it easy, do things in the right order. But with the celebration card, especially being the first one that comes up, what I'm really feeling is that this collaboration will continue, and that there will be a reason to celebrate, that there will be a feeling of success. Also showing up is the Two of Cups. So particularly with regards to this showing up as being the situation having to do with the Star card, which is, of course, dream fulfillment and our wildest dreams in a lot of ways. I'm seeing that there will be, like, your spirit team is really showing up with all sorts of support here. Like, you're going in the right direction. There's nothing you really need to do except remember who you are. And remember that bringing love to yourself into the situation will help you move forwards into bringing about a state of union and a state of celebration. And then we also have, gosh, there's a lot of water energy. We also have the Mother of Cups, and like, she's such a gentle, dreamy, okay, you know what? I think I'm getting with it. I'm picking up what they're putting down here. There really is water is mercurial. It will take the shape of whatever container holds it. And what your spirit team is showing up to say is that, yes, you are on the right path. Things are going to come up and they're going to be obstacles. But if you can remember to be open, have some openness into what is and exactly how this manifests. Like there's something about, herding cats, like there's this feeling of like, maybe you've been too definite in the way this dream was going to manifest, and that's actually inadvertently kind of blocking you, because oftentimes when we fantasize about things, the way we imagine things happen is never the way in detail, the way things actually do happen, because real life is complicated. So there's this dichotomous message of both holding the dream, but not holding it so tight. We also have the Seven of Cups showing up here. And so, and this card can mean that there's a lot of different visions coming in. The 7 is a very mystical number. And again, with more water, there's a dreaminess about all of this, and your guides are advising they're inviting you to stay in that place of openness and mercurialness. I don't think that's how you conjugate that word, but I'm gonna assume that you know what I'm trying to get at. At the bottom of the deck here, we have actually a departure from the cups for the first time, and this is the Two of Wands in this deck, the Two of Feathers, and the artists of this deck have dubbed this card Success. And so, you know, again, there really is this feeling of like, yeah, you're doing all right. There's nothing wrong with the dream you have. There's nothing wrong with the project that you're trying to pursue, that you're trying to build steps towards. These obstacles, whether they're external or internal, are just a part of what is. And if you can remain openness rather than letting any feelings of defensiveness causes you to become so rigid that you can't be agile and adaptable, then your spirit guide is just asking you and inviting you and reminding you that oftentimes openness is the way that being open to new things, being open to opportunities or small changes, which even though they may not feel the most ideal to you in the moment, down the road definitely can yield even bigger things. And with both the Success card coming up at the bottom, at the underneath the deck, you know, they really, it's this weird feeling. The word jubilation just popped into my head. And so there is definitely like, there's a lot of encouragement. There's a lot of like cheerleading in this happening from the sidelines, and just like, yeah, just keep on keeping on, you know, taking a pause, remaining open, but not abandoning the dream, not abandoning the plan in its entirety, but just remaining open to the possibilities, because there's so much fulfillment. I mean, both the Celebration card, the Success card, the Union card, all of that came up. And so there's, you know, there's an invitation to be a little dreamy. Let your imagination wander in this, and let your imagination seek out new ways, so that when that new opportunity or the slight change of plans does come to you, you're already somewhat adapted to, you're already open to it. Because sometimes even when we do get into that place of rigidity and that place of staleness, we become dull, and that makes it hard to even recognize things. So trying to stay in that space, that Queen of Cups space, that space of receptivity and intuitive receptivity, I think is going to be really helpful to you here. Yeah, that. It's funny sometimes how that happens. There will just be a huge pile of words that needs to come out, and then suddenly it just dries up and it's done. Anyhow, there's so much beautiful energy in this. You do have free will, bringing love to the situation, you know, doing things in the right order, and being in a place of watching and waiting. I really hope that you find this helpful. I hope that whatever dream you're building towards, I'm sure it's awesome and amazing. And if you want to tell me about it, drop a comment. Till next time. If you selected the Kyanite, then this reading is for you, and welcome. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to see if we can get your spirit team to give us a little bit more direction. And first we're going to look at what exact situation, what exact situation your guides are trying to call your attention to. And that card that flew out was the Queen of Swords. So let's just grab a couple more here and see if we can hone in on that. Oof, the Nine of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So the situation that you're being called to look at with regards to this reading is one where you have felt like you've had the truth of something, and it really, you learned a new truth, or were in a place where you obtained new knowledge that was painful to you, and it made you sort of question some pretty big stuff, like kind of question your roots in a way. And the sort of threw everything up in the air. So I'm getting, it's funny that there's a feeling of like this was a big enough thing that it kind of caused some like bafflement. Bafflement is really the word that's coming into my mind. Like, okay, well, now what do I do? You know, and like, okay, so what are some ways in which this kind of energy can show up? Just to give you some examples so you can figure out the best way to determine whether or where this is pointing at in your life in case it's not already clear. So some ways this could come up is you learned something about either yourself or another person that you weren't expecting to have that information, and it caused some upheaval. Maybe this was finding out something about somebody that you care about. Maybe you've got somebody who's moving away, or you need to move away. Or some new information about a person. Maybe you found out somebody lied. I mean, there's so many different ways that this could come up. But basically, it's a situation where you became aware of new, like objectively true information that has caused a big upset for you and has made you feel as though you've kind of been through the ringer. Like this, you know, the Nine of Wands energy is very much energy of, don't know how to do this very well, is very much the energy of, yeah, feeling like you've taken a little bit of a beating, and that it's been a little bit of a rough go. So let's see first then what your guides, first, while I was meditating prior to doing the readings, I pulled some oracle cards. So the first one that is coming out is Drunk with Love. Let love lift you to freedom. And then, sorry, I could have shown that to you. It's a beautiful card. Then we also have Birthing. Oh, interesting. So when I first looked at this card, I was like, oh, that looks like a bird. And then wouldn't you know it, the very next card that came up was Hummingbird Spirit. Be here now. Okay, interesting. And then the last one is Full Moon in Scorpio. It's time to release negativity. So let's see if we can get a little bit more information on this from your guides. Yeah, with both it's interesting, both with the Hummingbird Spirit, the Be Here Now, and with the Birthing, it's weird. I can't help but feel that like this was a big enough truth for you that maybe it's poked on some other stuff, especially with the message of Be Here Now. Like that is a helpful message when we are going through times of, especially if it's been in a lot of emotional turmoil, then, you know, the Be Here Now I find helpful, because even when I'm in a state of like emotional distress for some reason, if I can, and if it starts to tip into where it feels like too much, like almost like it's going into a space of being like anxiety, then that Be Here Now is really helpful, because I can remember that I have the agency to breathe and just be present, and that in this very moment, I don't need anything, I am safe. And so I'm really getting the feeling that like maybe some affirmations might not be a bad idea if whatever this new news is has done enough jostling to your energetic environment that you're experiencing anxiety, then oh, interesting, that came up in the first card, or in the first reading too, but in a different space. So there's some really deep reassurance here coming from your team of guides. You know, they're remembering that, or they're reminding you that like this is a new, this is the beginning of something new. And while it may feel with that Nine of Wands that it's the end of something, the other side of that is that it's also the beginning of something, and that beginning of something, that birthing, really has a lot of potential to bring you a lot of joy, satisfaction. Like the star card is all like wish fulfillment, essentially. The next one that's coming up here is the Seven of Swords. And, you know, this is a tricky card. I'm not going to lie. There's the energy of this one. People read it differently, but it is definitely it's a slippery card, you know, and sevens are mystical numbers in general. And so there is always an air of like mystery or working around the edges. Okay, that might be it. Let's see what else we have here. We also have the Nine of Swords and the Seven of Pentacles here. So really what your spirit guides are you know, asking you to bring your attention to, or I guess kind of advising, is that like whatever this sea change in understanding has been for you, it is both going to, it will continue to be a journey. There will be, whenever new information comes to us, or a new truth or a new awareness, you know, there is a period of like integrating that into our day-to-day life. And I'm kind of getting the feeling that like, you know, maybe it will take a little bit of time for this energy to settle, but that still don't lose heart, because the, you know, releasing that negativity, being reminded to release that negativity. But, you know, again, we've got the Drunk with Love and the Star card here. So there's so much opportunity and so much possibility. And the card at the bottom here, the underlying card at the bottom of the deck for the messages from your spirit guides, is the Knight of Cups. And, you know, the Knight of Cups, this is like a message. Okay, so yeah, so what I'm really getting here is that like this situation that your spirit guides are wanting to draw your attention to, it has been difficult, and they don't want to give you the impression that there won't be additional difficult points going forward as you integrate this space. But with, especially with starting with a Star card and ending with the underlying energy of the Page of Cups, like this is just the next part of your journey towards acknowledging your dreams and recognizing them and being able to move towards that true satisfaction, and that itself will bring a whole new level of wholeness, is really what I'm getting. So like, you know, it's kind of interesting. I'm almost a little surprised that the Tower card didn't come up, because it does kind of have that, like, has a little bit that air of inevitability. Like whatever information or understanding that has recently come to you that has made you feel that it has been difficult to digest that information, is just a part of your journey. It's just, oh, and also they did want me to reiterate that with the Seven of Pentacles here, this is going to be the kind of wish fulfillment that actually brings you satisfaction along the way. So this scenario, as it continues to play out, as you do integrate it, and as that information clears the way for you to step into that star energy and to navigate the ups and downs of that journey, because to acknowledge one's dreams and then to reach towards them is an act of courage, and it is an act of bravery, because there will be ups and downs to it. There will be people that show up for that process in different ways. But there's also very much this feeling of like building towards something, and that it's not just the end goal, it's actually the journey on its way to the goal that will also be equally satisfying for you. I hope you find this helpful. I know that this has been, it's looking like a time of some chaos and some difficulty, and that can always be hard to navigate. But you know, again, your spirit guides are really just wanting to remind you that being born is never painless. Becoming your true self and owning who you are and all of your glory is a process that has such rich rewards that it's impossible for it not to also have that journey be filled with challenge and obstacle. But there is very much a feeling of you're doing all right. You're doing all right. Like, you got this. You're doing it. You're doing it. I hope you find this helpful. If you'd love to fill in the details of what your story is, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Thank you. See you next time. If you selected the Amethyst crystal, then this reading is for you, and welcome. And the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to see about getting a little bit more direction from what situation in our lives our guides are trying to draw our attention to, because life is complex. We all have a lot of things going on. So let's start off with that. And we have the Four of Wands, the Four of Swords, the Three of Wands, and the Seven of Wands. Interesting. Okay, that card came up in an earlier reading as well. So this is a situation where you have been trying to be mindful about who you are and where you are, and you're trying to use that understanding of self to look forward into the future and make plans for later on in your life. This could be, I get the feeling that it's more like mid-range to long-range plans rather than like short-term in the next couple of months plans. This is more like many months to years. And that something about that situation has either left you internally or externally blocked. You know, with the Seven of Wands energy, there's a feeling of defensiveness. There's a feeling of like needing to rise above, needing to be unique, and that can show up either with regards to the self or with regards to the way we engage with others. So this situation is one where you're really trying to be mindful, and you know, I don't want to say this is going to be the case for everybody, but what I'm really seeing here is that for many of you, this is actually going to be not an internal block, but an external conflict or an external dynamic with another person who's making you feel defensive and making you feel like you need to get to that higher ground and that you need to be in a place to defend yourself. And like, you're just here trying to plan your life, trying to be authentically yourself, trying to be grounded and mindful. And it's like you're making plans for your life and somebody's not liking it. And underneath here, we have the Lovers card. So maybe this is a partner who isn't happy with some possibilities about changing a direction that you're considering, or perhaps the Lovers isn't always about the romantic dynamic. It can also be about contracts. So perhaps this is a job or a school, or, I mean, it certainly could also be a friend or another intimate, but it really does have the feeling that's kind of confirming for me that for at least most of you, this is definitely a situation where the block is external rather than internal. Like, you seem to be in a pretty good place, really. Like, there's not a lot of effervescent energy. It doesn't feel like that. It feels much more like you've been taking your time, you've been showing up, you've been doing the work, and maybe with a little bit of like, there's a seriousness about this, like not somber, but more like serious. Like you're taking this seriously. You're trying to be all the things that everybody says you should be, where you're being mindful and you're trying to really think about all of the different directions that things can go in so that you're making planned steps. And there's just a lot of pushback coming in. So let's see what your guides have to say. The first thing is, before, when I was meditating prior to the reading, I pulled some oracle cards. So, I mean, unfortunately, as I've been staring out the window directly into the sun, I just now see all spots. This one says, heart of the matter, align life's paths through the heart. Then we have the gifted card showing up. We have the dove spirit, to be at peace, or be peace. And then we also have prosperity lies ahead, new moon in Taurus. So yeah, your guides are really saying like, hey, you're coming at this right. Be peace, just be who you are. You know, that peace card is really kind of reminding me of that first card that popped out with your current situation, the Four of Swords, which is, you know, it is a very peaceful, very present energy that is aware and observant and mindful. Yeah, so just like encouraging you to stay in that place. And with the prosperity lies ahead, you know, and especially with the gifted, okay, getting ahead of myself. With the gifted card and with the prosperity lies ahead card, I'm really feeling here that like your guides are really wanting to let you know that like the work that you've been doing, the mindfulness and the looking ahead and trying to really be in a space where you are open-eyed with clarity looking forward, that is the right path, and that is going to yield you prosperity. With the be peace and the heart of the matter, align the pathways through the heart, that makes me wonder if perhaps this isn't somebody like closer to you, like maybe less of a situation with an institution or a job, and maybe more a situation with somebody who's closer to you. Although if you've been working with the same job for a long time, or you've been in the same school for a long time, it's just too hard to say. But regardless, I get the feeling that there's, you know, your spirit guides are reminding you that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and there's no need to feel like you have to be defensive. That's just other people and then you responding to those other people. So don't misconstrue that responding to other people's reactions as casting doubt onto all of the foresight and all of the mindfulness that you've already put into putting your plan together and trying to come up with the next concrete steps. We're also getting here the growth, the Seven of Pentacles card. So yeah, they're you know, they're again, you're totally on the right path here. And then 4 with the Emperor card, like this is, I guess, reminding you or inviting you or asking you to remember that you can you can be your own emperor, that people don't have to approve of our decisions. People don't necessarily have to approve of the way that we decide to live our life. The other card that's came out here just now is the Daughter of Feathers, and so this is also in some decks known as the Princess of Fire. And like this is that energy of being brilliant and courageous and like adaptable in the moment. So, you know, I'm really getting that, like, it's funny, the picture that came up with my mind with that was like, this picture of you having to, like, you're moving along a straight line and you're doing just fine. The path ahead of you is, I mean, obviously, you know, life is always filled with challenges and obstacles of some way, shape, or form, but there's a defined path ahead of you. And then, you know, something kind of comes up and you have to kind of like weave out of the way. And that, you know, being able to do that and show up in those moments of doing that with just being your courageous self, just being your brilliant self, you know, just letting your own light shine as you step out. Step out is a phrase that just keeps coming into my mind. Another card we have is the departure. So yeah, again, your guides are telling you it doesn't matter what kind of pushback you're getting on these actions that you're taking as you're looking forward, as you're trying to be receptive and mindful of who you are and where you actually want to go and how you want to move towards that space. That's also going to be a pretty major step on your healing journey. Like, one of the reasons why this probably feels like there's so much defensiveness is that, like, you are trying to break free from things, trying to break free from energies that have held you back, or break free from, you know, the cycles that, you know, you've been through over and over again. And it's like this, like, in the healing spiral, we often have to learn the same lessons over and over again. And, you know, this is just confirming that, like, you are on that path, like, you are moving away from the things that no longer serve you and moving towards that long reaching, that more distant future. And then the card that we have underneath is the victory card. So this is the Six of Fire, the Six of Feathers, the Six of Wands. And that, you know, like, whatever your exact story is, whatever brought you to the point where you decided to stop and really get in touch with yourself, really go into that meditative state and answer those questions of, what do I see in my future? Where do I want to point my life? And then having some pushback on that, like, you're doing great. Like, it doesn't, the fact that you're getting this pushback isn't an indication that you're not on the right track. I mean, we see victory here as the underlying energy. We see you being the master of your own hill. We see you with the seventh and the growth, and we see you departing from things. And yeah, like, it's a really lovely energy. It feels very grounded to me. I mean, we've got wands, we do have some pentacles, we have all of them here. We have all of the elements here. Yes, this feels complete. This feels like a big step forward for you in some way. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're making gigantic decisions. This can all just be in the way that we interpret our own life. So this can, you know, this can show up in the way of, like, the real world, where I'm going to move to this place, I'm going to get this job, I'm going to go to this school, I'm going to do this thing. It can also show up in, I get to define who I am. I get to deprogram from all of the unhelpful information that I've received over my life and just be me and who I am at my best, as my most healed, or ever moving towards that state of more complete healing. It's pretty freaking amazing. I hope you find this helpful. If you'd love to, or if you'd like to, or if you'd be willing to share your story, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below, and till next time, take care.